So today I'm super excited because I have in my hands a plane ticket, and I'll be flying to Beijing in about an hour's time. Currently I'm at the Air China lounge in Terminal 1 of Baiyun Airport in Guangzhou, and I'll be flying on Air China this afternoon. I'm going to Beijing to visit a friend who lives in Beijing now but used to live in Guangzhou. Now for this video I have booked myself a ticket on Air China to Beijing, and then for the flight back I've booked myself on Hainan Airlines. So I'm going to compare what the two airlines are like and show you a little bit of what it's like to fly domestically in China and what the experience is like in 2021. Now, I also would like to say that I know that I'm extremely privileged to be able to do this, because many parts of the world are still really struggling with COVID-19 and travel is just out of the question for a lot of people around the world. So I do know that I'm extremely lucky that I can just get online, book a ticket and fly somewhere, anywhere, because this is the first flight that I will have taken in about 1.5 years. So the last flight I took was when I flew from Brisbane back to Guangzhou in February of 2020. So this is probably the longest I've gone without setting foot on a plane for the last 10 years. So I'm just really excited to get my bum on the seat and just feel that feeling that you get when you zoom down the runway and take off and just fly somewhere. So I'm super excited, and I hope that you'll enjoy this video, and I hope that you'll learn something about flying domestically in China. I started my trip by taking a DD to the Guangzhou Baiyun International Airport, which took around 40 minutes due to smooth traffic. Unfortunately, I received an email earlier in the day to inform me that my flight time had been changed. But in the era of the pandemic, that is just something that you can't really complain about. And as you can see, precautions at the airport are pretty tight. I had to show my green health code just to enter the terminal, and everyone was wearing a mask. I made my way to the premium check-in area for Air China, and the check-in process literally took like 3 minutes. I'm not sure if you noticed the piece of paper on the desk, but it was a negative nucleic acid test result, which I needed to fly out of Guangzhou. Once I had my ticket in hand, I made my way through to security, and we were departing from the domestic B section. One thing that is common in Chinese airports is a dedicated security check line for business and first class passengers with short queues, so going through security was a breeze. Then I continued on my way to the lounge and took a quick look outside. This airport is massive, and one fact about this airport is that it was the busiest airport in terms of passenger throughput in the world for 2020. The Air China lounge is located close to the departure gate, and inside are some nice displays of traditional teacups and teapots, and it is a pretty spacious lounge with drinks and coffee, as well as snacks and noodles, but to my dismay, no wine, which I have to say was a big disappointment, but I was hoping there would be some on the plane. Before I board the plane, I'm just gonna have a quick cup of coffee, which I hope is pretty strong because I'm feeling a little bit tired after work. That's nice and strong. Cheers. From there, I made my way to the boarding gate, where I showed my health code again and was given hand sanitizer. As I was walking down the bridge, I was surprised to see that we were flying on a 747-8, which was not the plane mentioned at the time I purchased my ticket. Must have been a last-minute switch of aircraft, but I was pretty stoked about it.
你好，欢迎您，坐到 Welcome Board 14L。 Go inside and turn right, please. Sorry.
So, as you can see, for this domestic flight, they had lie-flat seats. I know this isn't Air China's latest edition of their business class product, but it was definitely more than I was expecting, and I was looking forward to having a lie down and maybe a little nap. So, to be honest, I'm actually a little bit surprised that we're on a 747. I thought it would be more like a regional jet, but I guess there's enough demand on this route between Guangzhou and Beijing to justify a massive 747, Boeing 747. So it's pretty cool because it almost feels like I'm heading off on an international holiday, even though I'm only flying to Beijing. But usually you'd have to fly international to be on a 747, so this is pretty cool. So once everyone was on board, they played the safety demonstration video, which had a cute panda, which I thought was awesome. I love pandas, by the way. Then it was time for my favourite part of any flight, the takeoff. I'll stop talking for a while so you can experience taking off with me just without my annoying voice. It was a beautiful day and I had a great view of the outskirts of Guangzhou. And then some of the more mountainous regions near the city. Plus a sight I haven't seen in ages, the clouds. Obviously, I checked out the in-flight entertainment system, which surprisingly had quite a wide variety of English programming, but I wasn't really interested as I can watch TV and movies at home whenever I want, so I mainly just spent the entire flight staring out the window. Then the meal came. Now, when I first saw it, I was a little bit disappointed, but I do need to let you know that this was a special meal, gluten-free. So I do need to give credit where credit is due, and applaud Air China for offering gluten-free meals on a domestic flight. A bit later on, they brought out a main meal, which was chicken and vegetables, which was actually pretty tasty. But there was no wine on this flight, so yeah, that kind of ruined the mood for me. But I still felt grateful that I was able to take a flight in 2021 and have this experience. Then I just enjoyed the view passing by and we started our descent into Beijing, which I'll play for you now. It really gives you an idea of just how massive and sprawling the city really is. When we arrived at Beijing Capital Airport, we disembarked and moved to a bus to take us to the terminal. I took one last look at the plane, then boarded the bus, bringing my flight experience to an end. I stayed in Beijing for one day, and it was primarily to visit a good mate and to watch the third installment of The Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I know, it's a pretty weird reason to fly to an entirely different city, but we just wanted to watch it together.
Nor fail to reward that which is given.
Anyway, the next day, early in the morning, it was time for me to fly back to Guangzhou. As with Guangzhou, you had to show a health code to enter the terminal. I checked in and then went to the Hainan Airlines lounge to check it out. And wow, the staff there was super friendly. It was pretty spacious and they had a lot of food and great coffee. If you don't know, Aussies can be pretty picky when it comes to coffee. I have to admit, I'm not as excited as I was the other day because the flight from Guangzhou to Beijing was the first flight that I'd taken in about 18 months. So the novelty of it has worn off a little bit, but I'm still excited to compare what the service is like on Hainan Airlines in comparison to Air China. So far so good. I've checked in and I'm just at the lounge having a coffee, and yeah, they've got a nice selection of food. I'm not that hungry because I ate way too much yesterday with my friends. So I'm just having myself a coffee to wake myself up a little bit because it's currently about 8 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I'll have a coffee and then I'll be more awake. You can probably hear that I was still half asleep at that point, but anyway, I made my way to the boarding gate and then onto another bus to take us to the plane. It felt like the trip to the plane itself took forever, but it was great for some plane spotting. Then we arrived at the plane itself, which was much smaller than the one I flew up on. I boarded the plane and found the kind of seat I was initially expecting on the Air China flight. It is a large recliner with lots of legroom. Comparatively, it was a little bit disappointing until I found a wine list. And this pretty much, in my mind, made up for the seat. And I was looking forward to enjoying a nice glass of wine as I looked out over the clouds.
请用这次口罩，一次性手套的防护环境，请睁开7级半中。
您今天搭乘的是波音737客机，舱内共有8个应急出口，分别位于客舱的前部、后部和中部。稍后，请您留意观看安全须知。
Now, this guy is incredible. He can sleep through anything. As I mentioned earlier, taking off is my favorite part of any flight, so I wouldn't want to miss it. When the meal came out, I was pretty happy. Once again, Hainan Airlines provided a gluten-free meal, which was great. I like it how domestic Chinese airlines offer this more frequently now. Then came the wine. And the wind turbines. They seem to just go on forever, and it shows that China is investing in renewable energy. After a couple of wines, we started making our descent into Guangzhou. So, what did I think of the two airlines? Well, obviously Air China had the better hard product, but when it came to service, I think Hainan Airlines is the best airline in China for service, hands down. You really do feel welcome on their flights, and I would never hesitate to fly with them again. So I'm back in Guangzhou and I've got about half an hour to get to work, so I'm gonna rush to the taxi rank and hopefully I'll get there on time. By the way, I did make it to work on time. So, which was better? Service-wise, definitely Hainan Airlines. Even on their older, smaller aircraft, they do pay attention to those smaller details that just make the experience that much better. Like this rose in the bathroom. And the service was impeccable. So I would like to say thank you to this amazing flight attendant for making the flight really an enjoyable experience. And Hainan Airlines, if you're out there, she definitely deserves a raise. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos from China.